first of all, how did you start modeling for romance book covers in the first place? Like, how did this happen? Like, where did this begin? When did this begin?
Okay. Okay. So I'm just gonna I just start ranting, but this kind of
Go
leads up
for
to
it.
this.
Go for it.
Okay. So when I was younger, my mom always tried to get me into modeling, and I think she put me in like a contest when I was like 4 or something, and for I think Nordstrom's, and like I won it, and she got like a gift card, and she spent it on clothes for herself, I'm pretty sure, but she
Love
says
it.
she did it. But so this was like kind of a thing that's always was in my head to maybe try to get into modeling, and I'm originally from Washington State, and so I ended up moving to San Diego because I rode for skateboarding companies
Oh, wow.
down there, and I moved there to film a video part. And like the second year I was there, I tore my ACL and blew out like my right knee,
Oh,
and that kind of ended my skateboarding career because that's like all I did. Like I lived and breathed skateboarding since I was
yeah.
9 up until I tore my ACL when I was like I think 22 or 23. And so I didn't move back home. I stayed in San Diego. I was bartending a private party in La Jolla, and Wander Aguiar was one of the guests at that party. And so he walked up to me and he was like, "Have you ever thought about modeling?" And I was like, at that point, I was in this weird crossroads because I didn't
Yeah.
know what I was doing anymore, but I wanted to stay in California because it was so beautiful.
Mhm.
And so I was like, screw it, I'm gonna see what happens with this. And
Yeah.
so he asked me if I ever started modeling, and he gave me his card, and he was like, let's set up a shoot. And I called him like literally the next day, and we set something up like the following week. And that first photo shoot that we did, like I remember feeling so awkward, and like, but he was like, he gave me great direction, and I learned a lot just from that first shoot. And he ended up selling, I think, like 2 or 3 photos from that shoot for book covers.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing. And your first shoot?
yes, yeah. So it was like pretty crazy.
Wow.
And then after that, I just kept working with them. And then I got signed to an agency with my mother agency now. I mean, it's been my mother agency since then, Auto Models. And pretty much I owe a lot of my success that I have right now just to him, because he
Yeah.
pretty much taught me everything I know.
I love
So
that. I love that.
yeah.
So, were you ever concerned about like a cheesiness factor? Like, that was it ever worried to you? Or you're just like, this is just, I love this experience. Like, I'm going for it.
No, 100%. There was things that I was doing that I was like, this is so cheesy, um, but I mean, if you see my Instagram, I'm pretty cheesy anyways. So like,
I love it.
yeah, I don't have a problem about like being like making fun of myself in order to get other people to laugh. Like I've always
Yeah.
been fine with doing that. So when I'm in the middle of a shoot and I'm dressed as like I'm supposed to be like a sexy doctor or something, and I'm like in a full like
Stethoscope.
scrubs, yeah, like no, for real, like no shirt on, and I have a stethoscope around my neck. I can laugh at it and have
Yeah.
fun, but there's a whole fan base out there that like
Yeah.
that loves these books and like lives vicariously through them. So that's also that's like another cool aspect to it, I think.
Do you remember the first time you saw yourself on a book cover in a bookstore?
Um, I so I mean, yeah, I don't go into the romance section and look anymore,
It's like,
but yeah, no, but I've had people like send me photos and all of that, like that happens a lot. But I the first book that I ever saw like in the stores, I bought it, so that was kind of narcissistic of me, but but now I mean now it's, yeah, I don't know,
I feel
it's
like
weird.
I don't think it's narcissistic. I think it's more like, when people have opened a business and they like save the dollar bill. I feel like it's
Hmm.
like that. This is my first book that I was on the cover of. I think
Yeah,
yeah. I think that's also, I
yeah,
think that's a normal reaction. I feel like you'd be like, oh,
yeah.
that's me. I'm in a bookstore in a public place.
Yeah, I think it's more weird that my mom has like a shelf of the like whenever she comes across anything, she buys it, and I'm like, Mom,
Oh,
please don't read that book, please, because they're very like some of them are very graphic,
Yeah.
It's so yeah.
That actually brings me to my next question. Have you ever read any of them?
One of them I started reading because the author that wrote it, she was at the time of her like writing that, she was using a lot of like the stuff happening in my relationship as like an inspiration.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, and so I started reading it just to see what kind of things she like to see if there was similarities.
Hmm.
But it's just there's like books that I try to read for like acting and stuff, and it's so hard for me to find the time to get through those. So
Yeah.
it's it's hard for me to sit down and actually read any of the books that I've been on. But I did these things on Instagram, these little like it's called romantic reads with
Oh, I
Andrew.
saw a couple of those. I was gonna ask you about that. I was gonna like you have
Yeah.
a talent for like voiceover work.
Uh People have said I should get into
The
it. And
comments,
I'm
people are like, "Oh, please do this every week," and I was like, "This is so
yeah.
great."
Hey, if my agent books me a job through like some kind of audiobook, I will
Yeah.
do it. But I haven't got any offers yet. So until then, I will probably do those every once in a while just because they're fun.
Do you so there's some people have described you as a modern day Fabio. How do you feel about that comparison? Have you ever met
Uh,
Fabio?
I have not. I haven't. Well, I actually I should be. I don't. I don't really know how to respond to that. I think I've
It's
been on
okay if you
more
don't want to
book
answer.
covers. I think I've been on more book covers than him. So
Probably have.
um, maybe I should feel offended that they're even comparing me. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.